It's just unfortunate, because it's unfortunate because the state calls it a no contest, but they know how the pay structure of the sport works. So that's essentially just erasing what I just did. Instead of their referee making a mistake, he gets penalized. That would make a lot more sense to me.
We're joined by UFC lightweight Trey Ogden. Trey, what's up, man? How you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
Doing very well. Obviously, don't need to remind you, but you're coming off of a kind of a tough fight against Nik Motta. People don't know your fight was stopped where you had the submission and then your opponent didn't tap, but Mike Beltran called the fight. And obviously, there was some controversy arose. Now, it's been a couple weeks since the fight. How are you feeling now that you've had some time to breathe on this subject?
Yeah, I feel pretty good, man. I think it was a really good performance. I'm happy with how the fight unfolded. I'm grateful that the fight got to go like 13 minutes, so we were late into the third round. So that I feel like we got some conclusion on how the fight would go, and I felt like I executed my game plan really well, dominated my opponent, positioned him, and put him in a submission. So I feel like I did my part.
The best way to spend your weekend is betting on fighting on Saturday and betting on NFL football on Sunday.
That's facts. And Inside Fighting has partnered up with DraftKings, an official partner of the NFL, to get you closer to all the action. And right now, new customers who bet just $5 get $150 of bonus bets instantly just using the promo code Inside Fighting.
If sports betting is not yet available in your state, not to worry. You can still join in on all the fun with the DraftKings Daily Fantasy Sports.
So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers use promo code Inside Fighting. Bet $5, get $150 of bonus bets instantly. That's promo code Inside Fighting. A lot of fighters came to your defense because they felt like you got kind of screwed. Just to put it lightly, they felt like you got kind of screwed. Now, obviously, Mike Beltran's been around for a long time. Did you talk to him afterwards? I didn't actually read up on that, or has he said anything about it?
No, he didn't say anything to me. He hasn't reached out to me. But it's kind of an unfortunate situation. How his mistake can cost me half my money is
Yeah.
mind blowing to me. So I don't know. You know what I mean? It's very strange. It's like I did everything. I made weight. I was professional. I fought as hard as I could. Exciting fight, great performance. Essentially finished my opponent, and then I don't get any of the rewards from that. And the reason why was because the referee made a mistake. So it's just unfortunate, because it's unfortunate because the state calls it a no contest, but they know how the pay structure of the sport works. So that's essentially just erasing what I just did. Instead of their referee making a mistake, he gets penalized. That would make a lot more sense to me than referee makes a mistake and I get penalized. The other unfortunate thing is that instead of talking about a great fight, all we're talking about is a no contest and a referee mistake. So now we're talking about what he did still more than what I did. And so it's like when you do something really good, when you as an artist, you paint a beautiful picture, and then it's like the only thing that gets talked about is everything besides the beautiful picture that got painted. So that's something that I'm just making peace with and appreciating the art for myself and the experience for myself. And it kind of has me back to my roots, like, like when you're an amateur and nobody's watching you and there's no money and it's just raw. You're just fighting for the experience of fighting. And so that's where I'm trying to settle my spirit because I don't want to lose touch with that. I don't want my performance to be overshadowed by all this nonsense, even in my own mind and heart, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So a lot of people were calling for that they should just look at this and just call it a victory. So you think that's what they should do? That's the right thing to do? Is just that
It
they
should be a
go over
submission
the
finish.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, unfortunately, there's no really right thing to do when the referee does this, which is why it's so critical that this gets fixed. That you have to have one, maximum integrity with the refs, and two, they have to be world class at what they do every single time out because the repercussions of the sport are too high. This is not a game, this is combat. So we got to get refs in there that can be trusted not to sway the result of a fight because they have that kind of power, unfortunately. And then also, and for any motive they may have, a little secret shadow motive they may have, and also refs that when they're morally aligned don't just mess up, like make a glaring mistake like this. And if they do, they should be punished harshly. Like there should be like if a fighter messes up big time, they get punished big time. Like in my opinion, this ref should be suspended or fined or both or fired or whatever, because you can't have this at the top level if this was a title fight. It's ridiculous. Now there's no champion if it's a no contest. So there's that. But I do feel like this should just be a submission win. Like the ref thought that Nikolas was in he was wrong, but he thought that Nikolas was in life-threatening danger of being injured severely if he didn't stop the fight. And I wasn't a legitimate technique. It's not like I made a submission of like this is a very legitimate technique. And this is what I do. I submit people. I have a lot of submissions on my record. So, if a TKO gets stopped a little early, everyone's like, oh, that was a little early. And then it's still a TKO. And then on Monday, no one cares. So, like, if they would have just left this as a submission finish with a small amount of controversy that, yeah, the ref stopped it a little early, Nik wasn't out, but everybody knows he was getting dominated and on his way to getting put to sleep, no one would have cared on Monday. This wouldn't have mattered at all. Everyone would have been like, yeah, it was a little early, but this is what was happening.
Right.
And I would have got paid and treated like a winner. And I didn't get treated like a winner, and I didn't get paid like a winner. It just is what it is, But I did win. And that's the thing is like I smashed him and I dominated him in precisely the way I said I would and trained to do.
Well, I hope that gets sorted out in the best way possible for you, because I do think you deserve the win. Just me personally as a fan, I do think you deserve the win. This actually does raise up another point here, because just like a week or two later, we have sort of like the reverse side of it with the Bobby Green, Jalin Turner fight. Obviously, that is in your division, and Kerry Hatley, I mean, he let that fight go on for too long. So we have two fights here where like one is called too early or called correctly, depending on how you looked at it, right? And then one is called way too late. And just what was your thought on that? Matt Brown said that he would like that he hopes referees would do that for him, let him have a chance to survive, even though he does admit it was a ridiculous stoppage. How did you see that situation on the heels of your stoppage just like a week before?
Well, I don't want to be too harsh on the refs. They have a tough job, and it's a high adrenaline, high pressure, especially if they're in like a main event pay-per-view or main card pay-per-view fight. I mean, there's a lot of pressure on the ref, and they have to make split-second calls. And when is the line? When it's too early of a stoppage, like that moment of like an early stoppage to a late stoppage, it's a very fine line, and it just gets crossed immediately. So but I do think that most fighters, if asked backstage, most fighters tell the ref, like, let me go out, like, let me give it everything. Because again, we put our whole spirit into this. So I've been very open spoken against standing TKOs. Like, I hate it. Like, I had a fighter, Mike Breeden, fight Terrence McKinney. Mike Breeden builds momentum as the fight goes, and he's a dog, and he can take a lot of damage. And Terrence McKinney comes out like a bat out of hell and then dies in the second round. And so Mike gets called a standing TKO. He immediately is like, I'm not hurt. And it's like, to us, it's so frustrating, because it's like we know Mike, so we know he could have taken a lot more damage, and then he was prepared to deliver it back. And so it's like, it's very frustrating. Yeah. That's another thing is like, I talk about this a lot. I don't view this as a sport. This is combat. Like, I don't train like this is a game. I train like I'm going to war, because because the damage is real. Like, the brain damage is real. This is real. Like, we are fighting. It's a combat sport, but it is combat first. So again, it's like standing TKO is like Adesanya versus Pereira. When Adesanya got called a standing, this is the two baddest dudes. Like, let us see the conclusion. Let these two warriors soak out every ounce they have in their spirit. They can verbally quit whenever they want. So it's like, but I'm not defending what happened this weekend, obviously. Just as a standard, I feel like you would rather have a little late than a little early.